All right, hey everybody, this is Alex Goff. We're in the FloRugby studios. This is the Miss Pass. Mason Hering is with us this week, and we've also got Michael in the corner.
It's a little brighter over here this time, though.
That's nice. You know,
it's not
just to show off your haircut.
Yeah.
Right, and the shave.
In the
looking
shave.
good. Very nice. We just got back from New York, so Michael and I. So we were at the New York Sevens all the time, and Mason, you weren't with us, which
no, I wish I was.
A shame. It would have been fun.
Yeah.
But we went through this massive tournament on Randall's Island, which is like, and Randall's Island, if you're like a West Coast fan, you've been to Treasure Island in the Oakland Bay. It's kind of the same thing. You can't get there from here except for one dodgy little exit off the bridge, but fields everywhere. Really difficult to organize this thing.
I bet.
You know, like 140 teams, and how many brackets, Michael?
12, I believe.
12 brackets and 140 teams. So.
I mean, I felt like I walked 2 miles walking from like field 82 up to like where the men's social was playing. I mean, it's big over there.
And those are so tough as a coach because, you know, you'll get field 1 and then got to be at field 80 in 30 minutes and have your team ready to go and have them prepped. It's a logistical nightmare for everybody involved, but it sounded like it looked really good on camera, so I'm sure it looked good from a consumer perspective. And then, you know, I guess it seemed like it was a success. So
it was a success. They had some difficulties. The number one thing is, and this everybody thinks about this, you know, if you've traveled like across an ocean, your flight gets delayed. It's delayed like 12 hours or 24 hours. And these guys coming from Lagos, Nigeria, the Cowrie, their plane got delayed a day. And then they're like, sorry, we're not going to be there. Yeah. And so it worked out because it was the men's premier, 6 teams, and they just made it a round robin of 5 teams, right? 4 games. Yeah. All good. And I thought that Michael, I know you saw some of the men's premier stuff, but I thought it was pretty good. I mean, Equipe Quebec, which sent teams from all over different brackets, they were like last in that one, and they were a good team. Yeah. But Beltway Elite, American team, one of the few American teams to actually win on the men's side, did really well and won the whole thing.
Awesome. Any particular individual standouts from any of the teams?
Hightower from Beltway was MVP, and we saw some young guys and a guy I really like, DeMonte Noble from Kutztown, who I saw as a high schooler playing for Atlantis, and he was playing for Beltway. He's a fast guy. Nice. But one of the weird things about this, and Michael can speak to this too, so Belgium won one of the brackets, a Belgium Barbarians team, pretty much your best players out of Belgium. Great.
A or B players from the national team.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So pretty exciting. Yeah. But it's the social bracket.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm not going to run it down. I watched the final, for the most part. It was good. But Michael, they played your guys. It's kind of your homeboys.
Yeah. And I mean, they looked really good against some of my former teammates. But I had a chance to catch up with them after they won in the final, and I asked them. One of the questions I asked was, what do you think about the level of play here? And what they said to me was something along the lines, the first, like the pool games, they were like, you know, easy. Yeah. And then they said once they got into like, you know, the semis and the final, they were pretty impressed with the level of play. Okay. So,
but they won the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and Mason, I mean, what do you think? You've got what is supposed to be an elite team.
Right.
Where would you put them?
You know, I think the thing is that no matter when you step on the field, you want to compete, and you want to have some opposition that will give you some things either to work on. You know, maybe it's a slower opponent or something that's developing a little bit slower, so you can test out a new system or test out some new player combinations. But by and large, I mean, we all play this game or coach this game or, you know, follow this game to see some competitiveness, and so. I don't know. My personal take on it, I probably would have played at the highest level if I'm one of the best teams, just because I want to go against the best, you know.
and take your lumps and maybe finish last.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Let's check the Belgian rugby news. And I mean, if they say they won the New York Sevens,
Yeah.
You know, you contrast that with Lindenwood University women's team, who played in the Premier, right? So they're all college students. And I talked to Rochelle Stevens, who's a USA national team player, and she's like a sophomore. And I said, you know, what did you get out of that? And she said, we learned so much. And we said, we learned that, you know, you go into a ruck, and you can't just lean in and stand there. Said, we went in there the first time, and the Équipe Quebec women came in and blew us off the ball. And we're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
We're in a ball game now.
Right.
They didn't win it. I think they finished third, which is good, right?
Sure.
They stuck right in it. I mean, they played up. Props to them for playing up, and I mean, that's exactly what you just spoke on. You know, playing the best to become the best.
And I think sometimes, you know, wins and losses, tournament finishes, that kind of gets the only thing that comes out of the event, right? How did this team do? Did we finish first? And I really think that you can find positives and negatives, right? Areas to work on and areas to keep going with in any match. And so if you're playing against the best and you realize that, hey, our rucking's got to improve because we can't just lay into a ruck like we normally do, that to me is just as successful of an event for us, my team,
sure.
to then coming out in first place and walking through like a social division because, again, you know, you're not learning anything. Your guys your guys or gals aren't really pressing themselves. It's just out there to have fun and take home a trophy. And trust me, I've seen a lot of trophies. I've won a lot of rugby trophies. They're not that flash. They don't look that good on the shelf. They're usually the cheap ones that some guy just ran down to the store and picked up and engraved their name on. So, yeah, I mean, you got to take away wins wherever you can find them.
You got to set expectations. And I know for like a varsity, like if it's a professional coach or a varsity coach or something, sometimes it's like, you know, trying to tell people we may lose, but the point that's not the wins and losses is not the point.
Yeah.
And for me, one of my prouder moments as a coach when I coached high school girls is I took a girls club team to a select side tournament in Northern California, and the night before, I had a meeting with the parents, and I just said, you know, we had our A team and our B team in it, right? So we were going to play 3 games each. I said, I just want you to know that we have run a real risk of going 0-6. And I just want everybody to realize that. We're going to stay positive, we're going to support them, make sure they have food, everything like that, and stay positive because we could go 0-6. And then I met with the players and I just said, you know, because we were a running team, and I said, I'm giving you the keys to the Ferrari. Do whatever you want. You know, no holds barred, don't be conservative, just play the way you really want to play. It's sunny, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that worked out. They went 4-1-1. It was very nice. You know, we didn't win it, but you know, it was fine.
Awesome.
But more than that, I think it was the attitude, right? You go in the attitude of, we're up against it. We don't know what it is, but we'll be better coming out of it, win, lose, or draw. And we did even tie game. So
yeah, you covered all 3 bases.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing sort of on that note that I want to put the spotlight on is some of these Canadian programs bringing down 3-4 sides, and Upright Rugby Rogues had a team of 15-year-olds playing in the 18-year-old bracket.
Wow.
You know, that's just great. And I mean, they held their own, you know.
That's all you can ask, right?
Yeah.
They held their own. Équipe Quebec teams all over the place.
Yeah.
Canadian Misfits, two teams in the boys high school premier, and they won it. I was really impressed with the high school premier community Olympic development program out of USA. Sorry, I keep saying that. Play Rugby USA. They were great, and I loved the high school girls premier division. Atlantis won that, and they were phenomenal. And you could tell a team that had a game plan.
Yeah.
They kind of dominated. There was nowhere else to go. They were in the best competition, so I don't know what we could say about
And isn't it kind of cool that these kind of select teams or these kind of organizations that aren't outside of your college, your high school, your club, are forming, and it's giving another platform for people to showcase their skills. It brings in a whole new team dynamic, right? So your club, your high school might have a certain type of style of play, and then you go play for this select team, and it's completely different. It's really just exposing all these young athletes into other different styles, and it's making people fall in love with rugby faster, which
nice.
I'll take any way that happens, because and ultimately when I get them in college and push them on to the men's clubs, what have you, it further gravitates that whole feeling of, I love rugby, I want to stay here, I want to play.
That's good. New York Sevens games are on demand, so you can still sign up and see them all and see some really great rugby. But I wanted to ask you a question about that concept. At Baylor, you get some talented players from high school.
Yep.
Do you get that answer of, well, coach, that's not the way we did it back home? And you're like, well, now we're doing it that way.
Yeah. No, I think I've been pretty fortunate with guys who have come in with open minds and wanted to really kind of fit into the system that we have, right? And by no means do I sit there and say, my system's the best and the way we do things is the only way we're going to do it, because we'll find out that our athletes, the guys that we have, may not fit the style that we played last year.
Sure.
We're seeing that even right now, right? Okay. So last year we were predominantly forward-driven, really physical, really all the hard yards up front, and use the backs when needed. But now it's a completely different dynamic. Right. The back line is where all of our more skillful players and the guys that have been around for a long time. So now it's about centering the attack around the back line, right? And I think it's just one of those things as a coach, you can't go in there and say, this is my style. We're not on scholarship, right? So I can't pull guys from all over the country into my style and system because they fit. So you have to adapt, and it's fun, it's challenging, and the guys really respond. And all I ask both the coaches as well as the players is to have an open mind, because we may try something, it may not work, and we have to go to something else.
You can win a rugby game with like 35% possession if you have a great back line.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to have that 65% because you're grinding it out. It depends, and to have that flexibility as a coach, it's difficult.
Yeah.
You have to teach yourself that, I think.
I mean, perfect example was the All Blacks against Wales this last weekend. Yeah. Set piece execution led to a couple different tries. Backline execution. They were making, I think at the first 30 minutes they had something like 80 tackles. It was all Wales possession. Wow. Yeah. And it happens like that. So a lot of times you just got to say, dig in, hold your own, play defense, and then when we get our chance, we got to strike.
We're going to get it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you've got a game this weekend.
We do.
We're actually putting it live on FloRugby. Yeah. So Oklahoma at Baylor. I'll be doing play-by-play, so I'm super pumped about that. Yeah. I'm very excited about that. And tell me a little bit about, this isn't a sort of a, go Baylor. You can go Bears if you want, but sure. Oklahoma had some ups and downs. You started off with a preseason game that you lost to Texas.
Yep.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe you were just sort of testing some things out, but how are you looking? How are you feeling?
I think, we're feeling pretty good. We split the series with OU last year. We lost up there, and then they came down and we'd returned the favor when it was a home match for us. All the teams in the Red River, which I've heard you guys talk about this year, it's just pick a name out of the hat right now. Yeah. And LSU is having some quality wins. A&M's doing well. We're doing kind of well in the North Division, but I think it's going to just be just as it was last year. Go down to the final wire. A lot of people picked LSU to beat us in the championship. Yeah, sure. That didn't happen, and I'm glad that happened that way. But it's really a testament to the coaches that we have in the conference and the hard work that the team and the individuals are putting in. I think that this weekend, you can never say, okay, OU's going into it a little bit hobbled. Yeah. Baylor had a decent win against TCU. I don't think you can look at that. I think it goes way past that, and it even goes into, that's what's cool about college rugby, especially our conference, and I will be a little bit of a homer here. The big names, the big brands, they have these allegiances, and it extends outside of rugby. So, UT sure. versus A&M is a rivalry with, if they were playing Tiddlywinks, it'd be a rivalry, right? And there'll be fans on both sides screaming bloody murder. So it's kind of like that with us in OU. We love the competition, and we love to compete against the best. And yeah, we'll see how it goes on Saturday.
That's good. A&M is another one that they're putting their hand up this year. Arkansas lost to LSU, but Arkansas is a tough one, especially when you have to travel there. So it's like 4, 5, 6 teams still thinking we've got a shot there.
All the travel, right, of these outer teams, 4 to 5 hours by bus. It changes the psyche of your team, and especially now, this isn't a knock against my guys if they're watching, but millennials, right, they're a little bit difficult to manage the attention span, which is funny coming from me, but, it's you got a different game day preparation than you do at home, and that road trip where you may want to fill up on beef jerky and sugar and all this other stuff.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what you do on road trips, right? But if you're playing a 80-minute hard rugby match against some of the best teams around, you got to kind of have a different preparation. And I think our team's learning that. And I know these other teams in the conferences, I talk to all the coaches, and we have that same kind of feeling. Michael, you remember road trips for your teams, right? It's just, it's a mental preparation that takes a lot of work.
Did you have to travel far, Michael?
Not as far as down here, that's for sure. I think our longest game was up to Orno, UMaine. I think that might have been the longest one. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
All right.
But speaking on the part of preparation, in the finals last year against LSU, I was able to be at that game, which was amazing to watch because you guys went down and you came back, and your guys never gave up. And I also had the pleasure of being at one of the workouts that you guys were doing before you played Arizona in the D1A quarterfinals. And so I was there and just off camera talking with all your players. You weren't there because I think you were traveling.
Yeah.
But like the praise they had for you and how you ran things and they bought into everything. They were right behind you. Even you weren't even there, and they were saying good stuff about you. So
that's good. That's good job, guys. No.
All right, that's exactly what you
we planned that. Right?
Yeah, it's the travel though, and I don't think people from overseas really understand, and they can look at stuff and say, oh well, okay, so you've got teams in Southern California, but sometimes you're in a league where okay, so. The PAC conference, UCLA's in that, and Arizona's in that. And that's a 16-hour bus ride. And I know I've talked to people from Southern California. It's like, yeah, I've proctored exams on the bus.
Yeah.
While we're going to a game, because it's not like they can say, by the way, can I have that exam done on Tuesday because I've got a game? It's what game? It's like it's the rugby club. Like no.
Right.
So
it's a full commitment from everybody involved, right? Sure. The university, the alumni, the parents, like everybody has to be bought into doing this thing. And if it requires going, 4, 5, 10 hours, whatever it may be, that's what you got to do, and you got to band together. And I think going back to your comment, Michael, about the team, I mean, it's you get in what you put out, right? Or you get out what you put in, excuse me. And it's basically, that shared commitment, right? So if they see me committed to them, them committed to us, build that kind of family, that brotherhood, you'll go to the ends of the earth. And I think that the strong programs that are out there that exist in the U.S. Landscape are those ones that have that figured out. Yeah. And the ones that aren't, they have a fragmented leadership, or they have people rowing in the wrong direction. That's when things kind of the wheels start falling off. And you even see that even at the national team levels, right? Some national teams, I'd say Australia is kind of getting that way with their national team as far as, captains going in and coaches making comments and all these types of things that, kind of lead to a rudderless ship.
Yeah, logistical issues. What a great segue. What a great segue from college rugby.
It's like I'm paid to be here.
Rugby around the world. And we wanted to talk about some of the stuff internationally. FloRugby is still showing the Rugby League World Cup available to some countries around the world, most of Asia and also in Canada and in Uruguay and Chile. And it's been really exciting to see it develop. Brian Lowe has been writing for us and covering it as well, which has been great. And thanks to NRL Photos for giving us great photos.
Yeah.
Thankfully. crazy stuff going on, right? Australia wins big, right?
Yeah.
But what happens with Tonga and England?
This was, it came down to the very last play. A little bit of controversy surrounding this one. No TMO, and then just called the game. So,
okay. Do we have video of it?
yes.
I don't. Okay. So this. All right. So here's the run. This is the last play, and there that ball gets stripped out. But then he picks it up, and he touches it down. And the thing about this, if you're a rugby union fan, that is not a knock-on, because it was ripped out by the defender and goes back to the defender's.
Yeah. They're going to
try
show it
line.
again here too.
They show it again.
Yeah.
So that is not a knock-on. So he's free to pick it up and do whatever he wants. It's play on. So that's the critical part that, if you're a union fan, you have to understand that he didn't knock it on. So then Tonga says,
Right here, slow.
yeah, okay. So they rip it out there. That's a rip. So then he picks it up. He's supposed to dive on it. He picks it up. He rolls over and he touches it down. And the referee said it was a loose carry, meaning he didn't have control of the ball. No try.
Game over. England's in the final.
Game over. England's in the final. That's the winner. They think they've got the winner. And he doesn't go to the TMO. And I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher. I mean, you know, that's what they're there for. I mean, his sole job is to look at that type of play and decide the outcome of the game.
Right.
And as a referee, which I've picked up the whistle maybe twice or three times under distress in my life, and it's not an envious. I mean, no one wants to be there.
Yeah.
And why not use your scapegoat? Why not use your out and say, hey, look, guys, I didn't see it. Let me throw it to the TMO.
Let's check it, right?
And now, if heads roll, it's his head, not yours,
Yeah.
right? I don't know. That may be thinking about from a selfish perspective.
I'm thinking back to the D1A final a few years back, and the referee was Phil Ackroyd. And the final play of the game, he went to the TMO to just check on, was there a knock forward, was there a penalty? There was something happened in goal, and I don't remember exactly what. But he and I talked about it because I didn't quite understand what he was checking. But after the game, I asked him, what were you checking? He said, it's the final play of the game, maybe.
Yeah.
But maybe there's a penalty, in which case we're still playing. And it was within a try. So it's crucial that you get that right. So he says, I'm going to go TMO to check on a knock-on. And he got the call right.
Yeah.
And game over. Very, very smart, and it takes your ego out of it.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, I mean, what do you think? I mean, I think it was crazy. I think Tonga won that game.
I mean, their fans are going crazy right now. Online you can see them, and I mean, rightfully so, as we just saw. I mean, they've put their heart and soul into this. Look, they made history. They beat New Zealand, the first team to beat a first Tier 2 team to beat a Tier 1 team in the Rugby League World Cup.
Yeah.
And now they were playing well, and look, I mean, they were 2 points or within 2 points against England.
Right, and it's a 4-point try. They score the try. Ball game.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, just.
And you don't want to throw that conspiracy theory out, but I'll throw it out there. England, big travelers, whether it's league or union.
Sure.
Tons of them down there. Lots of Papua New Guinea. I can't imagine that Papua New Guinea and even New Zealand, the tourism may not be as strong. Let's keep these guys here for a couple more weeks. Get some pounds, some British sterling here.
I don't,
Possible?
I could see that a referee is scared to make that call against, and we've seen referees vilified for making a call against a major Tier 1 nation.
We were just talking about this the other day.
Yeah, with 2007 World Cup, Wayne Barnes is still,
he's still in the doghouse.
Right, still in the
Although
doghouse.
he did do a game this weekend and did well.
So we in Union this weekend, the score that jumped out at me, we're sitting in a bar and I see the score and I say, hey, Scotland beat Australia 53-24. Michael's like, no way. And there was a big call from a ref and I realized Scotland's not a Tier 2 nation, but there's a pecking order. And Australia is higher in the pecking order than Scotland. And the referee calls a red card. Do we have that video?
Yeah, we got that right.
Okay, so this is the infraction right here. This clear out, shoulder to the head, and what the announcers and the referee both said was, you raised your elbow. So you were trying to get him in the head. it is a red card. This is 39 minutes into the game. It is 12-10 Australia at the time. After that, Scotland just started, and there's some more. Scotland just takes it to them at this point. They maul this one over. They send like student body forward into this and maul it over, and then just blow open the game after that. But I mean, Mason, you think that's a fair call? That red card?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, this isn't 2004 rugby. This is 2017 rugby. Yeah. We're protecting the players. Coaches, players, referees, we're all in on it. We want to protect the players. We're not going to have a game if we don't. And any contact with the head, it's a no-brainer.
I mean,
and then you talk about raising the wing too. Like even further explanation. We didn't even need to go to that route. I'm sure Cheika wanted even further, you know, comments on what it needs to be. But ultimately, any shot to the head, it's a done deal.
Well, and speaking of Cheika, you know, he had some comments about it. And I don't know if we got the video on his comments, but, you know, he was talking mostly about intent. Mm-hmm. But I think that they've already addressed that in World Rugby because they talk about, like, you either did it on purpose or you're so reckless or you should have known. You know, jumping up in the air and swinging your arm in. I was like, I didn't mean to, but that's dangerous. Yeah. And going in with your head down and you launch, everybody's low. Everybody's low in this ruck. And Cheika's explanation is the guy slipped. But I think it's a little bit dodgy in that sense because, you know, everyone's low.
Maybe not.
All right, so we don't have him talking. What Cheika said was, look.
I can tell you what he said.
Okay, go ahead. You say.
I'm a lip read, right? Oh, woe is me. You know, that's my poor Australian accent. Woe is me. Everyone's out to get us. The All Blacks had something to do with this. Steve Hansen and I love Vegemite.
There you go.
That's what it was.
I love Vegemite too. He said the Scottish player slipped.
Yeah.
And so he was going in perfectly normal, and the Scottish player slipped, and there was no intent. It's like, okay, and I think what he's doing, he didn't oppose the red card. What he was saying was, it was Kepu, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Please don't suspend him anymore. Is basically what he was trying to do, is try to protect him from being suspended anymore. But I think it was a gutsy call by the ref. I think it was the right call. Happy for Scotland.
Yeah, it was a huge win, and it now it gets marred a little bit, right, from this. You know, fans of Australia and or maybe people that don't like Scotland would be, oh, it'd be such a different outcome. It was 10-12. Yeah. Well, it was 10-12, but, you know, it was still a whole half of rugby to play. Sure. Who's to say that Scotland wouldn't continue to use that same strategy against a tired Kepu? Yeah. Because he, you know, sometimes doesn't go a full 80, right? Yeah. Or doesn't give his effort across a full 80. And I just think as a coach, as a team, you know, you're going to get dealt some bad hands. You got to just man up and deal with it and move forward and not go to victim blaming and all this type of stuff because it fractures your confidence of your team. You know, there's 15 guys. Last time I checked, there's 15 guys on the field. Right. And sure, your tight heads is an important guy, but you got 14 others that can play the game. So, sure.
Well, we talked about a red card with Peter Malcolm here, the red card that the USA Selects team suffered unfairly, we felt.
Yep.
Yeah. But his response was, we didn't respond well to the red card, and we gave up 3 tries, a couple of them soft, that we shouldn't have given up. And that's what Australia did, is they didn't come together. They didn't circle the wagons.
You got to galvanize at that point. This is all there is to it.
USA played a game against Georgia. They lost by a point, 21-20. They scored right at the end of, well, there was a few minutes left in the game. Bryce Campbell, Schultz Award winner, goes in the corner, great. And touchline conversion not over. I was actually pleasantly surprised at this scoreline because Georgia's been looking pretty good, and I thought maybe it might be a 20-point game. So.
And we saw it. We saw the scrum difference, right? Yeah. The superior scrum for the Georgians, and that was a concern of everyone's going into it. And we saw, I think, a yellow card issued and a penalty try again, right? So that continues to be an Achilles heel for the U.S., but you know, again, it's just about adapting your game plan. And I saw it. You saw them go to the line out way more, right? Any chance that they had, they went to the line out. If something's broke, you try to steer away from it as a coach or as a team and go with what your strengths. And I thought the back line was a big advantage for the U.S. They looked really pretty prominent with ball in hand. That cross-field kick was a little bit unnecessary, and I think people are saying that. But it was a great game for the U.S. I think it's just a matter of just building upon this, and obviously when Georgia's not the only team in the world that has a good scrum. We could go down the list and find a bunch of them. So if that continues to be an Achilles heel, it's something, an area you have to address.
I mean, Michael, we've been talking about this for years now, right? This scrum issue. I know you talked to some of the guys who are in that front row. I don't know. Well, they just say they need more time, need more practice.
Yeah, I think they need more time together. They need to practice. We got coaching changes. We got an unstable roster, guys coming in, guys coming out. They need to get the core group of guys. They need to be practicing. I mean, let's keep in mind also, I mean, they've only had 2 tests and they should have more, which would then give them more playing time, more of an advantage there. Just got to work on it.
And Malcolm also mentioned, just competition domestically and having good scrumming teams all the way through, and it's pretty tough. If you're dominant in a scrum, that doesn't help you. You've got to
You got to have some kind of push and pull opposition. No, I think that you're right, Michael. I think that the amount of people that kind of think, oh, it should be just able to knock out in a couple of weeks. The scrum is not like that at all. You have to have the same continuity together. You have to know each other's body shape. You have to know how to react together to things. I wish we'd have 6 hours of work on the scrum a week. Unfortunately, we don't have that in our training plan. But it's just something that it's kind of like putting on your shoes, going to work every day. You might want to wear flip flops or sandals, but you're working on a construction site. That wouldn't work. You got to put your boots on. So
you got to put your boots on.
Yeah,
that is a great.
Got to put your boots on.
Fantastic.
Scrumming with boots.
There's a guy who put his boots on all through the year. We want to give a shout out and big congratulations to. We had him here in the FloRugby studios. Perry Baker, USA Sevens star. Is the World Sevens Player of the Year, completely and utterly deserved. Led the World Series in tries scored, led the World Series in points, and led the World Series in line breaks. And we were just joking around because it was 57 tries, I think, and 76 line breaks. And I said, "What were you doing on those other 19 line breaks, man? Come on!" But,
feeding someone else, right?
Right, probably. I think for me. I've seen his tackling greatly improve. I've seen his understanding of what to do around the breakdown. The tackle, flip around to the legal side of the ball, get up, get down, take the ball. Kicking on the run, which is very difficult to teach someone who doesn't grow up doing that. He's actually been really useful on that. All of those things contributed to that. And the one other thing I'd say about this is that every award by World Rugby this past weekend was to a Tier 1 nation.
Yeah.
Every single one. New Zealand, tons of them, but Ireland and South Africa, every single one except for Men's Sevens Player of the Year, which was to a Tier 2 nation, United States.
Yeah,
so he sort of carried the banner for everybody there.
And he's the fulfillment of the prophecy of what we have here, right? The great athlete, football player, track star that we can turn into a rugby player. And I've been involved with this game for close to 20 years now in the U.S. And it's one of those things where you keep telling this story. You keep saying, "This is what we got. This is what we can do, guys." But it just hasn't really ever crossed that bridge yet. You get a World Rugby Player of the Year, now you can start staking claim that, hey, this model may work. We can find these guys. And kudos to the entire group. I know Mag will be, Friday. Those guys are finding these guys out of the woodworks. Psalm from Washington Football. Hopefully he might be the next guy. Who knows? Carlin's coming back. We need more of these success stories so that we can continue to sell this narrative to the public. And who knows? Maybe that NFL draft, right after that, we just start taking all the guys down that don't make it and just say, we got a home for you. You know, and here's proof. Here's a guy, I think Baker was with, was it the Bears or somebody like that? Or he had a tryout. Was it, you know, Carlin tried out with the Lions. I mean, there's guys all over that fringe of that NFL and even NBA. Let's look at NBA. I see Australian rules. They're looking at the NBA draft. And they're finding guys. Mason Cox is one of the guys that's in a team now in Australia. Played basketball at Oklahoma State. There are guys there, you know.
There's a lot of similarities. I mean, look at the opposite picture where Nate Ebner is on the special teams for the Patriots, and he's killing it. Yeah. And you got the rugby style tackle, and you know, not many people get away from him. So there's definitely similarities. I mean, as you can tell.
Well, for sure, and I'm very excited. You know, the great thing about Perry was he's an American-produced player, and he was a teenager. He was playing rugby, but just sort of dabbling in it. And then he goes and plays with Tiger Rugby Academy in Columbus, Ohio. That was a huge thing for him. So everybody had a piece in it, right? Yeah. It's just your regular old guy.
It's a shared success,
right? Brian Richardson in Daytona trying to get a guy and go play, and then these academy systems, whether it's, you know, Atavus or Eagle Impact, or in this case the Tiger system, and Paul Holmes saying, we're going to take this rough player and make him better. He's 31. He's not that old as a rugby player, but obviously Perry has also put a lot into it himself. Yeah. He should get a lot of credit for it.
But you saw that he didn't take the credit for it. That was the coolest part for me. And especially as a coach, you want that out of your player. You want them to kind of give it back to the team. But nowhere in his acceptance speech was, it was my work, it was my effort, it was all about the team. And if you think about sevens especially, I mean, you're usually putting a guy like him away, and it's something that happened a phase or two down in front that really set that trial. So Madison Hughes, you know, any of those guys can take credit for this award and share it together, which is what exactly he said it was.
And we've seen it where USA players have not been setting free their speedster, not been setting him up. But I've also seen him take it from like 5 meters in his own end zone.
From a standstill.
Pretty amazing. Great congratulations, and I think it's a USA award. It's a Tier 2 award, which is pretty great. Mason, we're going to see you this weekend.
That's
I'm pretty excited about that. Oklahoma at Baylor. Don't forget the Rugby League World Cup. For some of our fans is going to be live. The final, pretty exciting about that.
Yep.
And more stuff coming on Flow Rugby, but that does it for the Miss Pass this time around.